Questions 39 through 42 refer to a talk about job interviews.
During a job interview, your behavior, clothes, and speech are important. It's important that you arrive on time and be polite, sincere, and organized. Most people don't realize that the way one dresses for an interview is also important. If your clothes are wrinkled or mismatched, the interviewer may think that you really don't care about your appearance and even about the quality of your work. Your outfit doesn't have to cost a fortune, but it should be neat and clean to make a good impression on the interviewer. And please don't arrive at the interview in clothes that have stains or rips. Don't borrow your friends' clothes if they don't fit well. This is one of the common mistakes that job seekers make. They don't want to spend the money and end up losing a chance to get an offer. It's important to remember that if you don't make a good first impression, you may not get a chance to make another one. When you speak, you need to adjust your speech rate. If the interviewer speaks fast, you have to speak just as fast. If the person in charge speaks slowly, you'll have to slow down. Research has shown that most people like those individuals who speak at the same speed as they do.
Question number 39. What is the main purpose of this talk? Question number 40. What does the speaker say about an interview outfit? Question number 41. What is a common mistake people make when they go for an interview? Question number 42. How should interviewees adjust their speech rate? Questions 43 through 46 refer to a talk about the Boston Tea Party.
In 1767, the British imposed heavy taxes on goods sold in America. The taxation caused a public uproar, and eventually all but one of the taxes were repealed. The tax that remained in effect had to do with the sale of tea imported from Britain or other colonies. In addition to this tax, the British government allowed one company to sell tea at lower prices, and American merchants were afraid that they could not compete fairly. At first, when tea arrived in Boston Harbor, the local merchants protested and attempted to have the tea returned to England. This attempt failed, but on December 16, 1773, about 100 colonists raided 3 British merchant vessels anchored in Boston Harbor and threw 342 containers of tea overboard into the waters of the Atlantic Ocean. This raid was called the Boston Tea Party by the Boston newspapers.
Question number 43. What is the main idea of this talk? Question number 44. When did the Boston Tea Party take place? Question number 45. How many British ships did colonists raid? Question number 46. Why did colonists throw the tea overboard? Questions 47 through 50 refer to a talk on political polling.
In political polling, the purpose of any sample is to produce results that can be useful. Therefore, the findings have to be valid and reliable, and a sample has to be large enough to represent the voters' opinions. Of course, we all understand that political polls cannot be 100% accurate, but still the margin of error cannot exceed 2 or 3%. If poll results exceed that, they may not be valid. Even 5% is excessive. As a rule, political polls are not completely reliable. Any pollster will tell you that they cannot scientifically predict outcomes. They describe people's attitudes at a certain moment in time, but people's attitudes obviously change as events continue to occur. The sample of the population has to include various groups of people that represent all voters, and not just a selected minority. Let me give you an example. In 1936, Literary Digest, a popular publication at the time, decided to conduct a political poll. They used the telephone to obtain their sample and tried to predict if Alf Landon would be the next president. I'd like to remind you that Landon was defeated by a landslide and lost to Franklin Roosevelt. His defeat by the majority of the electorate was one of the worst in history. Although the Literary Digest poll predicted that Landon would win, the prediction was clearly off the mark. So, what went wrong? Well, in 1936, only wealthy people could afford to have a telephone, and the wealthy strongly supported Landon. However, they did not represent the majority opinion, even though their number was large enough for the sample size to be valid. So it's not that polls simply have to be large enough, but they have to represent the entire voting population. Otherwise, their results won't be valid.
Question number 47. According to the speaker, what is an acceptable margin of error in political polls? Question number 48. What do political polls describe? Question number 49. How did Literary Digest obtain their sample? Question number 50. Why were the results of the poll invalid?